day or two ago, I made a video on what we're supposed to do when the prisoners who've been released early inevitably reoffend. Now, it turns out one of them was arrested immediately upon leaving for suspected rape and sexual assault, which makes you wonder why on earth he was set for release anyway. Yet after watching the videos of prisoners leaving and saying they don't know what to do or where to go, and with the ridiculous amount of foreign criminals in our prison system, it did make me think, what are prisons actually for? Now, in order to answer that question properly, you really have to answer the question, what is a nation? And essentially that's an extended family with shared cultural, historic and ethnic bonds. Now, I know that offends modern leftist sensibilities, but that's just the way it is. It's why the Swedes come from Sweden, that Denmark is the home of the Danes, England the home of the Angles, and Scotland the home of the Scots. Now, throughout history, some people have integrated into that extended family, the obvious example being the Irish. I think if we looked into English genetics, probably 1 in 3 of us would find we've got some Irish in us somewhere. And the same is true with other Germanic tribes, namely the Vikings, but much more importantly, the Normans. In fact, half of my family goes back to Norman blood. Yet these groups coalesced over time to essentially make a cohesive whole, and that meant we could function as one society. Some people did well, some people not so well, but in an ideal world it's not just about individual success or failure, but the health of the nation. And that brings me on to the issue of jail. If someone's committed a crime which goes against the laws of the nation, what should happen? Well, ultimately there's a moral element there to do with punishment. However, there should also be a dimension of rehabilitation into the broader social structure of the nation. And as I've spoken about a lot on this channel, our country doesn't focus around those coordinates anymore. Now we have very little cohesion, no shared mythos, no real shared identity in modern Britain. This has been brought on us, of course, by left-wing cultural ideology and the neoliberal economic model, where every single pound in your pocket is squeezed to go back into the liberalist global system. And what is jail in this world? Well, it's something more like getting people out of the way of the smooth functioning of the modern economic and social system. And when they go to jail, it seems to be increasingly stocked with foreign criminals, as well as Islamic gangs running the roost there. And when they leave, they have very little to actually integrate into. They just step out into an anonymous economic zone like this man.
A man walks out of prison with a duffel bag, £86 in cash. Well, where's a man going in life? You know, I'm saying go to probation. What am I going to do when I go on probation? I'm going to go probation, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to get bored, I'm going to start going back into my old ways. Maybe I might smoke drugs again, I'll go out, I'll start committing burglaries at night. Next thing you know, I'll be back in jail.
Now, I don't want to get overly romantic here. I know some prisoners have done very extreme things and probably can't be rehabilitated and need more extreme measures at times. I'm also aware that some prisoners will spin you a yarn just to give you their side of the story. I also firmly believe in personal responsibility. I think we all need to engage in that for a healthy nation. However, I do also believe that many prisoners have never really been introduced to ideas and ways of life like that by strong disciplinarian figures. And this comes back to the breakdown of our nation. After all, in the home, increasingly there are no fathers, single motherhood has been promoted, and that's one of the highest indicators of men going to jail. In education, men have been taken out largely from the schools, and if they're still there, they're largely feminized. In the church, they've turned more to BLM and pride marches than the moral guidance of young men. In government, they're obsessed with the utopian multicultural liberalism, and in the broader culture, it's focused on materialism, nihilism, leftism, with nothing really to integrate into. Incidentally, this is why many white prisoners convert to Islam in jail. I'm sure that's partly due to Muslims being the biggest gang and threats that fall upon them, but it's also because Islam offers a cohesive whole, something that allows masculinity and discipline and growth for them. And what a blight it is on our culture and our nation that they've been so diluted by the powers that be, the prisoners feel they either have to or only have the choice to convert to a foreign religion. But the point I'm getting at here is that while Keir Starmer simply blames the Tories, this is more than just the fault of one government. We're witnessing a social collapse right now. The Tories were a joke for sure, but Keir Starmer's just feeding us a line. In essence, until we find our moral values and national identity, men who slip away will never be able to be rehabilitated, and this system will just continue ad infinitum as things get worse and worse and worse. These are just my thoughts, however. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.